And wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to. It's been a while since I've done a Google Hangout, and I'm excited. I'm excited to introduce to you three women entrepreneurs who are using social media in some very, very interesting ways. And for you that are new to Sure Social, I am obviously, my name there is Alice Fuller. I'm the principal consultant of Sure Social. For those of you that have been following me for a little while, you know I like to use Google Hangouts, and I like specifically using Google Hangouts to interview interesting people. So today I want to introduce you to these three successful women entrepreneurs, and we are going to discuss using social media to grow your business, as well as using social media to give a voice to social issues or anything you think is important that you can do and promote online. So first, I want to introduce uh, Carla Hall. So Carla, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started a Facebook group in 2010, and first of all, I'm from Alabama. You can tell by my accent, I'm very sure. I started a Facebook group in 2010 because I was myself having some emotional issues, and I just needed to reach out to a group of women. And someone said, start a Facebook group and just reinvent yourself. If you want to feel better, you have to make new friends. So I did. And in 4 years, the group grew to now we have 25,889 members. And they're all women, with 3 or 4 men maybe out of all that, from all from all over the world. And
Smart
trust me,
man.
they're highly monitored though.
Okay.
And my son is actually one of those members. But that group just continued to grow and grow because we were being featured on different talk shows like Allie Brown and different things like that on their groups. And when
Hmm.
that started to happen, then we just added 100, like 100 members a day. And I was going, what in the world? But that shows you the power of numbers. I got started with Facebook in my business because of those numbers. In insurance or in any business in sales marketing, you know for a fact that tapping into those numbers is what you have to do to succeed. So I knew that if as a web designer back then, if I could gather the tribe in those large numbers, I would be able to succeed and stay in home and be an entrepreneur and being a mom. So that's what I use Facebook groups for in the beginning.
Cool. All right. Now, next up is Karen. Now, Karen, tell us a little bit about how you came to start using social media to grow your business. And tell us, too, we were talking before we went live about why you were a little standoffish at first.
Yes, I definitely was a little hesitant because I knew that social was very new, but we didn't know how it was going to develop. We didn't know what level it will take into our personal lives as well as business. My initial antenna was I love the idea that I've never worked for anyone. I've always worked for myself. And I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I can work in a beautiful environment where I don't have to worry about noise, but it's because I have access to the internet. So social really started to become interesting to me when they standardized it for the relationship building, because what I do like is working with small business owners because I've always been a small business owner. So
Hmm.
even though I feel it can expand to a personal level, I think the personal level for me is more on a professional level, but the same impact. And what Carla had created really was mind-boggling for me in terms of the variety of women focusing on a niche market and focusing on the ability that women like to nurture each other and support
Hmm.
each other and creating that community. And that's where she really took it to another level. I was moving in that direction, and I very, very excited to be part of this Empowered Women of Social Media as a
Okay.
co-author, also as an endorser.
Wonderful. Okay. Now, next is Miss Wynn. Wynn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I can't live up to any of those introductions, but I'll try. I My name is Wynn. I am physically disabled. My physical disability is cerebral palsy, and I agree with Ken. I myself didn't get Facebook until I was 18. And now I'm 27 and building a company on Facebook. But when my my family actually convinced me to get Facebook, and they go, "Man, we need you on Facebook," and it's like, no, you don't, because I at the time was a very private person due to my disability and due to everything else. And I happen now to be a two-time, actually three-time published author of three separate books, two under my own name, one a YA novel and entitled The View from My Heels, and my autobiography entitled I Win, and then I compilated on a book that came out in late September, early September, late September, early October, called 20 Beautiful Women. And all three of those books can be found on Amazon.
Okay. Now, here's the question. It's interesting because most social media statistics will tell you that even though men create the platforms a lot of the time, it's women that are just running it. What I mean by running it is it's women that have really taken to the social platforms and really use them in various ways, not just for business. Why do you think that is? Anybody can answer that question.
You want me to say? I'll start.
Okay, go ahead, Carla.
Just Karen hit it on the head, so I'll agree with her and say women are nurturers. They want that community. They're more likely to open up. They're more likely to be willing to open up than men. And social media is a social community. You want to talk to somebody. Really want to make that connection. I have a little bit of an echo.
Okay, what you might want to do is when after you're talking, turn down your mic, and everybody else, when you're not talking too, mute your microphones, and then that way you won't get that kind of feedback. That's one way to counteract it. Okay. Cool. Now, does anybody else want to weigh in on why women have just gravitated to social media? Not that men have not, but women have.
I'll weigh in on
really gravitated.
Because I have a physical disability, I find that it's more opening doors to me because I'm physically disabled. Now, granted, I don't live in the biggest population. I live in Aspen, Colorado. So, granted, I'm not going to all those networking meetings, North Carolina, Bomb. And so, where we live, social media has saved our company.
Okay. It's funny that you talk about networking, because what's interesting is some people will tell you, especially when it comes to business, you still need to do the face-to-face, because people like to do the fake of hands and want to get a feel for you. But I tell people all the time, you can create your first touch point on social media that can then lead to offline. So have there been any challenges in trying to establish online relationships that lead to offline relationships?
Yes. I actually attended an event in Florida in 2012 called the Women's Prosperity Network Unconference, and here's what was amazing. Almost every woman at that conference knew me from Facebook, and they come up to me, just hug me, they said, "I love your Facebook post," and they had recognized me from that. So it's very, you have to be open to it, but if you are, you can take those relationships offline.
Okay. Well, I think, Karen, you wanted to weigh in on that.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention, I like to say that it takes a tribe to raise a child, but it also takes a community to raise a business. And like you said, all connections or relationships. Business has always been social, but life is been separating social from how you can do business. And ultimately, women are entrepreneurs. Women work from home. Women have to juggle a lot. So there's a larger percentage of women that are entrepreneurs where they have to incorporate multiple ways of not only living life but also working. And I think being the female role model for the family and of course being the mother, this is an organic way for women, not only because of their character being nurturing and liking dialogue and they're conversationalists in general, but also, like you said, giving people the opportunity to connect prior to driving and spending time with people. Time is of essence. And to be able to connect on a personal level or on a professional level and save that time, it is an amazing opportunity for women entrepreneurs or women at home to network and build their tribe, build their community.
Well, speaking of building that tribe, because I'd be willing to bet, when you start those online relationships, it can be a little unsettling to have somebody say, "Hey, I know you from Twitter, or I know you from Facebook, or I know you from that blog post." How do you get over that initial, "Ooh, okay, I'm not accustomed to being that public"? So how did you get into that mindset of, on one end, I have to get out of my comfort zone, but on the other end, you do have to set some boundaries. So anyone want to respond to that?
Well, I will respond to it. Um, when I first established my company, solo on solely online, I was the woman behind mask, so to speak. Well, lo and behold, I ventured that to a triathlete team, and people started picking that up, and I did that for a year, and then people started really picking up my artwork, and people really started picking up my company, and through my books and through my artwork, I have now grown a fan base that is shocking to me. And on the occasion, people will say, "I've seen you on Facebook, I follow you on Facebook," and it's like, okay, here we go. And it's like, you kind of have to be prepared for that.
Okay. Okay. Now with Carla, we were
Yes.
talking about earlier getting over this kind of being on camera. And now for you, how did you finally get over that fear of being literally, okay, I'm going to be a public person. I've got a business. I've got things to promote. What finally propelled you to say, okay, webcam, you and I have got to become friends?
That is easy to answer because she's sitting right there. She's wanting to tell you what I'm about to say. Actually, Wynn helped me get on camera. She coached me through it. I was sweating bullets. She interviewed me on her show called Women of Wisdom. And I mean, I'm serious to you. I was so scared. I had a towel just above my head. But and I know that video is important for SEO too. So I know that I have to incorporate that into what I'm doing. And especially with this book project that's about to launch on October the 5th, I have to be in that space to do it. And see, what I want to do is I want to look at myself, and I need to look at this camera. But I'm learning.
Okay. Well, you're doing it well thus far. I have no
Thank
complaints.
you.
Okay. So,
And
okay, Karen, did you want to weigh in on that too?
yeah, just real quick, what I think for me is I haven't probably gone out that far outside my network. I have used social media to specifically build on a warm market. And I'm a little hesitant to bring people into my community without having at least 5 or 6 connections associated with them. So my communities are a little smaller than probably most people would want, because I believe influence is more important than popularity, and I've
Good
been
point.
focusing on the ability to really build those relationships, like you said, and at the convenience of working from home. So selfishly, I loved technology because it gave me freedom. And I really was maybe a little different that way, but I also don't open my door to anyone. And I like get to know people because that's really where my heart is.
Okay, that brings up a really good question, and that question comes down to when you started your businesses, did you go for local first, or did you go global? Because with the internet, right from the start, you open yourself up to a global audience. But was your focus local first or global first?
Well, let me just finish on that. Mine was definitely local. So when I had left Denver, Colorado 3 years ago, and we chose to move here, my plan was to be able to live in a beautiful environment and not have to go anywhere. Even though I've always worked from home, it gave me the opportunity to really live that fulfillment. And Santa Fe, I will say, it's the #1 top small city in the United States by Condé Nast, but we are community based. So we picked to live here so that I could build that community, and that's where I'm exploding it further. But that was exactly the plan, is to build it from the ground up, from my community locally, and then expand, of course, to all my friends internationally over, 30 years, but still to focus on that. Like you said, backyard community environment is really, really why we moved here as well.
Okay.
I agree. I agree with Karen. I am 4 hours away from Karen in Aspen, Colorado, and me being a solo entrepreneur slash teacher of kids, I feel like Karen and I both made the decision to choose where we live. And I happen to grow up in Aspen, Colorado, and I'm not leaving anytime soon because of the beauty of Mother Nature.
Hmm.
And so, that being said, I started um, my Facebook page locally and then internationally because of my family, and then it just took off from
Okay. Now, Carla, I want to talk about now the project that you're working on,
Okay.
the Empowered Women of Social Media. Tell me how the project got started, and what inspired one.
Okay, Wayne, could you mute your microphone, please? It's echoing.
it's
Yeah, it's a little reverb. Okay, there we go. I started in June of this year thinking about something that I could do to give back to the women of the Women's Empowerment Network. And I had seen several book compilations come around my way, and I had turned them down because I just didn't have really time to do that. And I thought, okay, well, the Women's Empowerment Network, can I just flip it to be called Empowered Women on Social Media? I didn't want to use the word Facebook, but I did want to bring people in who've used all kinds of social media to find their voice. And because I become a published author this year for the first time, I wanted to give women to have, I want to give them that same opportunity. And some of our co-authors have been victims of domestic violence, survived breast cancer, and besides Wynn, we have another lady that has cerebral palsy that she's contributed an article in our book. So these women have really come together in a spirit of energy and love
Okay.
to make this amazing book that launches on October 5th in Kindle.
October 5th in Kindle.
Correct.
Okay. Now, did you say how many authors are in this?
There are 44 authors and 30 endorsers who have contributed a one-page article. So we have about 5 women in all, and then we have 6 sponsors, including Karen.
Okay. So, what were some of the initial challenges with getting that many women together for one project?
Organization for sure. And we managed to pull it out with the Facebook group that was secret, so no one in the public could see it. And we started doing our planning within that group, and the ladies started contributing their information for a file on that group. So the initial was definitely confusing. And we didn't really, as Karen told me, we didn't really have a good system, but we have developed a system since then.
Okay, so Karen, when you got the invitation to get involved, what was your initial thoughts?
Well, luckily, again, it's warm market networking. I had been doing some business, and I've been inviting friends of mine from your city, LA, there, that had come in and done some work. I was teaching at the community college as social media, and they had introduced me to Carla, and I had done 3 or 4 major projects with them. I had brought them into our community. I made panel discussions about this subject and for businesses, and it was a no-brainer, because if this woman, Dawn Baracco, a friend of mine, who I had known, by the way, for 10 years in another business in Colorado, she mentioned Carla Wynn Hall, that was easy for me. Okay. Because the network was there. And then when I met Carla, it was online. We haven't met in person, but I will tell you, I love the internet because I could see everything she's been doing, what she created, and I was just more and more impressed with her heart and how she's used social media to really build something, but also it literally has become a community. It's a community.
Okay, and what about you? What about you? Initial invite. What were your first thoughts in participating in this empowerment?
Well, as I said, I met Paula through another business contact out in LA on Google. So I had a little hesitation to go into this necessarily because, as I said to Paula, I don't have time to do it. And she goes, okay, you have to do it because I have now helped you with your company and your website and one of your books. And so you have to do it. And so, but for me, building a network, a strong network at that, through this book has been amazing.
Okay. Well, for all of you, where do you see this project going? Because now you've got the 40 authors. You've got the book that's coming out October 5th. So what's the next step? What's the next step?
I don't know if you'd like, but what I do know is that everything is an event. Everything is a project, as you mentioned, an event. In my mind, this is a stepping opportunity or a stepping stone to just build more fabulous collaborations, relationships, projects, organizations. So I feel what Carla had put together is really, again, giving you the opportunity to make what you'd like out of it that could have a life that will continue. Because the group's so big, I can imagine spending 10 years before I could even meet all 26,000 women in this group. But yet, you start with 1 or 2, you start with maybe 5 or 6, and as you build those relationships and you do work together, or you have labs together, or you personally grow together, the expansion ends up being infinity, as we know, and we know the virtual component of that. but it might stay in the group or it might go into those communities, because now that you've bonded with those women in those cities, and this is worldwide that Carla had put together, it's unlimited where you can actually take it. And that's what I enjoy, is that I follow my heart, I follow my gut, and I build the relationships that are organic and that are collaborative and that are win-win. And it keeps growing. And that's what's fun about it, is I don't see a beginning or an end with it. I see it as a ongoing development or growth process.
Okay. And Carla, did you want to? I mean, you started this project, so where do you see it going? A year, next year, or even 5, 10 years from now? Oop, your microphone is muted. Hold on. Did you unmute your microphone? There you go. Okay, I can't hear you now. Hold on.
Okay, can you hear
There
me
we
now?
go.
Wait.
There we
Okay.
go. There we go.
Okay. As Karen said, I don't see it having an end, because my mission in life is to help women to write their story. I came through a huge episode of early, as a teenager. I married early. I came through rape and abuse and all that, and I decided to write my book this year. It was self-published through CreateSpace, and it was very releasing for my soul. So the book is so much bigger than a book. It's about women who have released something in their soul where they had been muted. Now they're roaring. So what I hope to do with that is take it into a training program where I help women. It's called Notebooks and Napkins. I help them write their story, even if they have to start with writing on a receipt in their car. It's going to have a voice recorder so they can get it out. And of the 44 women who are with me now, almost half of them have started their own book. So what I intend to do is to help keep letting women find their voice through writing, and to use social media as a way to say, I love myself. If they can just say, I love myself one time in front of somebody, their whole entire insides change the way they feel about life. So it's to me about writing.
Okay, so most of you have used Facebook. Are you using other tools? I mean, Pinterest is, a pretty women-centric to a degree. Twitter, YouTube, since we're going to be on YouTube. What other tools are you using, either in conjunction with Facebook, or just you've got another project solely on another platform?
In conjunction with Facebook, I'm using Twitter, I am using YouTube, I am using Google plus Hangouts in one point, and I'm also using Blog Talk for my
Podcast.
project that spun off the Women's Empowerment Network. I finally let the cat out of the bag, and my little project is called Women of Wisdom. And basically, what I do is interview other entrepreneurs as to what they do. Because after I published I I Come a Win, my original book, people ask me all the time, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you run a company while being physically disabled and having a physical disability? And I wanted to give back to people, and I wanted people to have that interaction with me off Facebook, offline, and I wanted people meet me, and I call myself the coffee shop interviewer. Don't set I set guidelines, but we don't normally stick to those guidelines, and Cola can actually prove to that. And so Cola and I have been working together. Now Karen is going to get in on the act one of these days. So that's my platforms that I use. But I am a terrible Twitterer. My Twitter is hooked up to my Facebook, and
Same,
I
same,
need to
same.
get off Facebook to get more tweets, but so far it's been working. So
Okay.
I don't know.
And what about you, Karen? Are you using another tool, Twitter, Pinterest? I mean, there's so many tools, and it seems like every day there's a new tool popping up. So, what other tools are you using?
Yeah, I use all of them, and meaning all the core
Hmm.
platforms. I really believe in that. I'm starting the blog radio just this quarter. I think I'm ready for it, but I'm not using it to generate an audience. I'm going to be using the blog radio for content because I want to interview business owners and women and men or small business owners to really help them promote themselves. So I am on Google Plus, I am on YouTube, I am on obviously Facebook with a business page and Twitter. I'm on a LinkedIn with a business page. I'm on Instagram. So I'm using the core
Hmm.
network, and part of the reason is I really feel that each are different markets and different ways to communicate the same thing. So, and there's some that I've been focusing on a little bit more. I do need a little more work on my Twitter conversations because Facebook with Carla bringing that to me really allowed me to focus so much with Facebook recently and build those relationships because she's done all the hard work, and I'm
Okay.
very grateful. Mhm.
Well, that if
I
there were
agree.
if there were like I'd say three tips for women that were trying to, just on the base level, do something similar to what you've done. What would you tell them as far as how to get started? Because I think for a lot of people, the hardest part is just getting started. You've got so many tools to choose from, and if you're a little hesitant because you're overwhelmed, what would you tell a fellow female entrepreneur, where to start?
Did you want me to answer that? Because
Yeah,
I
anybody.
feel very strong about this. Part of my Simplifying Social Media workshop series is to get the business owner to be able to understand the strategy and the
Ah.
big picture of all of it. Because if you don't have a big picture, you're going to get lost in the currents, you're going to get lost in the waves, you're not going to be able to manage what you really want to say, what your voice is. So, what I try to do is give people a broad stroke to begin with. Then they pick what they like best because each one has their style, and they start there, like you said, and then it organically starts to become more comfortable, but also expands out how they start to look at the different ways to communicate what they want to say. And that's where you have to build those communities, that what I call the core base, because you
Hmm.
don't want to just offer anybody to come in your community. You want people who really understand your voice, that are nurturing, that will support you, that will share your information so others can either align with you or choose not to, which is good too. You want to be a filter and you want to sort because we're all limited with time, energy, and you really can only work with 5 or 10 people at a time really closely. So if you manage that, it ends up being fun. And of course, my actual business is an all-in-one marketing platform which integrates your SMS, your email, your all your social, all your RSS feeds, all your monitoring and engagement and things. So if I can educate people, then they can understand the value of that. And then they start to really either decide to do a strategy where they delegate it out to a social media manager, which I refer because I don't do social media management, or they end up at least understanding what content they need, and they can decide if they want to do it with an admin or someone within their company. But I recommend hiring someone once the business owner is confident in making that decision, instead of a deer in headlights, because the deer in headlights become victims, and there's no
That's true.
victim here.
Hmm.
The key is that you have to be able to be a business owner, delegate what you know is best for your business, but if you don't understand it, then you bring in the wrong resource. And that's where leverage is really what it's about, whether it's on a personal level or business. It really is about leverage.
You raised some really good points because so many people jump into social media and they want to get 10,000 likes, they want to get 50,000 followers. You know, they go after the big numbers first. And they get frustrated a lot of the time because they don't have any, they don't have any what we call, the ROI. Because you've basically thrown some stuff against a wall and you're so broad that no one, you've got 50,000 people here, 10,000 people that, but you don't have $10,000 of sales. You don't have
Right.
10,000 clicks on your website. And so you brought up a really, really good point in starting, don't focus so solely on the numbers, but focusing more on getting the quality over quantity. That's a great point. So, Carla, what about you? Go ahead.
Well, I'm a big fan of the group dynamic because I think to me you can get that conversation going better in a group. And
Mm-hmm.
Facebook has changed their things so many times over the last 5 or 6 years since they've been a social media company
Mm-hmm.
that you can't really get that conversation from a page. You can get the numbers and sometimes you can get the quantity and the quality, but within a group you can always get the conversation. So that would be my first tip for using Facebook to really get a conversation going to help close people to your business is to try out groups. Have a page, but have a group.
That's a great tip. That's really a great tip. Go from the ground up, just going ahead and starting and cultivating that online community. Start
Right,
with
right.
10, start with the people you know, and then move bigger and bigger, but at the same rate, not so big wherein you lose the power of the group. And everybody
Exactly.
is in it.
Well, now, so I can tell you that my theory is right because when I started this group of authors, it's taken on its own life force. Now we have over 100 women in 20 countries just sending this message all over the planet. And this is a small secret group, but the energy inside of it, they feel comfortable. They feel comfortable talking about different things that come up in their life. So I took the big group and then made a small group, and now we've got a very powerful, energetic small group that's out spreading the message. And you'll see, like you found us through LinkedIn, right?
Hmm.
And then you contacted me on a Facebook plugin that was on our website, which is called Facebook Commenting.
Hmm.
That plugin alone is invaluable because it lets you communicate via Facebook on a regular website, and then I get notified that someone's left a comment.
Okay.
So,
It's interesting because there's another argument that I hear a lot, and especially now that you have a book coming out, a lot of people seem to want to replace their traditional website with Facebook.
oh no, no.
Oh
I,
no.
okay, I
We
guess I
all
kind
three say no at the same time.
of
Nope.
I know what I tell my clients about that, but why do you advise people not to do that?
Number one, Facebook is changing every single day. A website doesn't change every single day. If you have a WordPress website, you've got the ability to integrate all your social media and it stays there on your host on your server. The Facebook does not give you all the options of having to opt in. It does, but those are in apps, and so many people still don't understand those. There again, that's changed 100 times over the last 5 years. Used to, you could put the apps over the top strip. Now
Hmm.
they're still there, but they're down at the left, and you can't find them. So Facebook is if you're not ready to take on a permanent learning curve, you need a website and a social media because you need a learning curve driver's license.
That's a learning curve. That's cool. I like that. Okay. When did you want to chime in on that?
I definitely agree with Congress and people who are new to Facebook um, call me the Facebook expert, call me the technology expert. I mean, I've been backed in to so many corners over the years, and they call me the technology expert. And I have a friend who's watching on the other end who can type, and she has cerebral palsy. She's involved in this book, and she can type faster than me on a Facebook message, and she can type faster than me on a cell phone. and I am still trying to type away on a
Well,
Facebook message.
both
So,
Win and Daniel use websites mainly.
so therefore, when Colin says you need a driver's license to run Facebook, yes, you do, because Facebook is changing 1,000 miles a minute, and Google Hangouts are changing 1,000 miles a minute
Hmm.
too, and it's like, and my number one tip is don't go gun ho, and I quote someone out of Florida. Her name is Kim Grant, and she says stick to one platform and do
Mm,
it well.
that's good.
Don't
That's
I
good.
agree.
go all gun ho on Twitter, and don't go all gun ho on Facebook, because you're not going to get any results. You're not.
You're
So if
going to go
you like
crazy and never
Twitter,
sleep.
if you like Twitter, stick to Twitter and don't go over to Facebook. If you like Facebook, stick to Facebook and don't go over to Twitter. If you don't, if you like Instagram, for instance, don't stick to Instagram. Don't
Hmm.
go over to Facebook and Pinterest. Don't do Pinterest if you're not going to stick to it. Do one platform and do it well.
I agree.
That's great advice. That's really sound advice because I think people get burnt out really quickly,
Yeah,
and the overwhelm is it comes really quick. The burnout and the
Hmm.
overwhelm probably in the first month, 2 months is the first time that people say, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired. I can't be. You spread yourself way too thin. So go ahead,
And that's
Karen. What
about
did you
it.
want to add?
well, what I was going to say is what I love about your question is that I call it a monologue versus a dialogue.
Ah, good.
The monologue is your website, it is your brand, it is your logo, it is your content. And usually websites can be incorporated into your blog, which is your conversation. But the dialogue is the social. The social, so having a Facebook page, or whether you do Twitter and Facebook or you do a couple, I think you can do multiple, but don't get expansive in your idea of how many people you're talking to. Keep it community based in each one and keep it manageable. But what you do is you use that dialogue for people to understand you're a social human being. So whether you're in business or you're building for your church, or whether you're just someone that's building your family with social and friends, what you're really doing is using that dialogue for people to get to know you. And so the dialogues vary, and that's where I know Carla can understand, is the dialogue can be very distracting because it's very present, which is good. But if someone really wants to go down a rabbit hole with you, and I mean that in the sense of your thought process, the website is going to give you the core or the center of that circle, where the links are the way that the conversation gets to the website, right?
Hmm.
That's the SEO.
Yep.
It allows
Right.
people to connect the dots about who you are and what you're representing. And that, I think, is whether it's, like I said, a personal project, whether it's a business project, or whether it's a community project. If people don't know how to connect the dots to the bigger vision, they can't be part of what you're doing. They can't be what I call the, you know, volunteer marketing army for you. And
Hmm.
whether that is, again, life or business, everybody needs a volunteer marketing army. And that's what social media can do through the dialogue. And
Okay.
then,
One of the questions I have, because we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to touch on now as women entrepreneurs, the marketing to women entrepreneurs in general. Some people get it right on, and then some people really miss the mark. Some people just really
Yes, they
totally
do.
they're just really totally off. Now, later in this Thursday, we'll be talking about it's social media week, where we're talking about marketing to women entrepreneurs. So, what do you see some of the missteps that people take in marketing to women like you and myself as women entrepreneurs using social media? Like one I know is everything needs to be pink. That irks me more than anything.
I see a big problem with MLMers, with people who are selling
Oh,
eyelash flips and things like that, and they're just like continuously posting and copy like 10 groups in one post, and then they're never getting into that conversation. So they think they're marketing to women because they think all women like big eyelashes.
Drives me
So they just plow their message out there. They don't, and the network marketing companies, a lot of them are teaching this. So I think that's a issue.
okay.
Definitely.
Karen, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, real quick, I totally agree with Carla because what I found is people don't understand traditional business and traditional marketing has changed. Your fans run your brand, and that means your fans, your friends. They're going to call you on who you are.
Oh,
So if
yes.
you're not doing like Gary Vanderchuck says, or Gary B, I call
If you're
him,
not crushing it.
Crushing it.
jab, jab,
Or
jab,
jab,
right
jab.
yeah, you got to give, and then ask. And you don't fire hose people what you do for a living and expect that person to not get water on their face if you've got a hose in front of them. And you also have to understand your friends are not your customers. Your friends
Ah,
are your marketers. They are the ones that are going to give you credentials and third-party validation for their network. What you're really interested in is networking through your friends' contacts because they've already built the relationships. And
hmm
if you come in like I did to Carla, that's how Carla bonded with me quickly because I already had a great relationship with Dawn for many, many years. And that's the power.
that's great. That's great.
I definitely agree with Karen on that, and um, I will tell you, I got gifted a book signing up in Virginia before this project started 20 minutes before going to the airport through a dear contact of mine. And that being said, trust your contacts within your inner circle would cease to amaze what they have.
That's true.
Yes.
That's very true. That's very true. Okay, ladies. I think we've had a really great conversation. I could talk social media literally all night. I really could.
Me
But
too.
I think we've made some really, really great points in one, in trying to use social media right from the start. You don't have to go broad. Start small where you are. You can go local. Nothing wrong with going local first. Nothing wrong with starting small first, and then build a strong foundation, and then build on that foundation. So that's one. And then two, also cultivating an online community. Because what you've done is really it's kind of interesting because as quiet as kept as it is, you've created a movement, a quiet movement, but it's not really that quiet. But you're
Right.
using these platforms and you are creating a movement of women entrepreneurs who are using the platforms intelligently, not just to promote what you're doing, but also to cultivate and to support each other. So that's a wonderful thing. And so also knowing that, for those people who are thinking of starting with Facebook, okay, that's great. If you want to start on Twitter, that's great. You don't have to be everywhere because I know a lot of social media marketers will tell you you need to be on all the majors, which is not true, especially when you're starting small. So I think we've shared some really, really great information for women entrepreneurs. As a matter of fact, this conversation has really this conversation is really great for anybody, not just for women entrepreneurs. So I thank you. And so one thing I want to do is I want to go over to your website so people can see what the book looks like.
Okay.
That's one. So I'm going to share my screen. Ooh, my screen is kind of, yeah, I didn't clean up before company came.
Oh boy.
We, well, nothing up here will get me in trouble, but nonetheless, I'm a, just keep in mind, I'm a creative.
So am I. I have lots of desktop icons.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of stuff up here, so excuse the mess, people. Excuse the mess. This is just this is a creative mind at work. So let me share the screen, but I want people to see what the book looks like.
Okay.
Great.
So this is what the book is. This is what the book is really going to look like, is it not?
Exactly. That's exactly what the book is going to look like.
I love the three women. I really do. Where did you get that? The icons or the what do you?
I got it from Dreamtime. I purchased the
Dreamtime, okay.
license, and to me it just resonated with me even before the book was made. I found that graphic. I thought it's so cute. You know, it represents social relationships to me.
That's just, it's great. It just spoke to me the first time I saw it. I really love it.
Thank you.
Okay, and so can tell people where they can get it and the date that it comes out and how to
Okay.
support it.
Well, they're not going to know how to get it until October the 5th, and the reason why is we want everybody to find their author. They've seen it on Facebook. We want them to find the link there. Click it through Facebook. It's going to go to Kindle, and they'll be able to buy their Kindle ebook on October the 5th, starting at 5 a.m. in the United States on October the 5th, and it'll be like
Okay.
6 p.m. in Australia and New Zealand over there. So what they'll do is come to Facebook, just type in Empowered Women of Social Media, and they'll just start seeing every author that's and every endorser that's out there marketing for us. So that's how they'll find it on
Okay.
Facebook, October the 5th.
Okay. So do they go to your website first or go to Facebook first?
They'll go to Facebook first and join in on one of the conversations, and one of the links will be in those Facebook conversations, which will click them directly to Kindle. We
Okay.
want them to go to Kindle. We want them to read a chapter or two of the electronic book, and then leave a review on what they've read. The reason why is we want to connect the community in a bigger level to these co-authors in a deeper level.
Okay.
It's going to be fun. We've got stuff all over the world.
Wow. What's the most far-reaching thus far?
Oh, we've got a little revolving map on the website. I think New Zealand's probably it, the little tiny island out in the ocean.
All right. So the
We go all the way around the globe.
The Kiwis are representing. Okay, that's great. That's great. So, any last tips or advice that you want to share anything about social media and specifically marketing to women entrepreneurs before we wrap this up?
I will jump in because I brought two little helpers out with me, and one of, as Carla said, this book is published via CreateSpace. Now, CreateSpace is best since sliced bread because you can publish a book in a matter of 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I got with me two books published via CreateSpace.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that beautiful cover. And what you do is upload a cover, upload the manuscript, and then publish it. Same way with Kindle, and both my books are published via CreateSpace, and they will put it up on Amazon essentially for free. So I don't care if you are disabled or not and want to write a book, you can. You have the power of writing a book. And that's what Paula and I and Karen are trying to emphasize here. You have the power of writing a book.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And
Go ahead.
Alice, I think there's two key components that I think that Carla really has done well and Wynn has done really well, is they're focusing on how to be social, not to do social, as Jay
Oh, that's
Bear
good.
had mentioned.
I could tweet
And
that.
Go ahead.
and I also believe that Seth Godin, he had mentioned, marketing is no longer about the stuff you make, but the stories you tell. And that's what the empowered women of social media has really done well, is to expand the idea that we all have a story and we're all part of a community. But sometimes reading someone else's story or connecting to someone else's story gives you more self-awareness as well as learning and development that you would never imagine, because it's their story and you're able to hear it and be separated from it. So I'm very, very grateful, Alice. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
Yes,
you.
thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much.
Thank you, ladies, because if you hadn't created it, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. And
That's
so,
right. So stay creative. Even if you have a million icons on your desktop, never stop creating. Never, ever.
that's great. That's a great advice to end on. So thank you,
Okay.
ladies,
Thank
for
you.
participating in this Google Hangout experience. And I will see you again this Thursday for Social Media Week Los Angeles. You will be my virtual guests.
Awesome.
You'll be my virtual guest, and we will definitely be talking about marketing to women entrepreneurs. And so I'm looking forward to what you're going to do next, because now that I'm in kind of like in the know of what you're doing, I'm looking forward to seeing just how more empowered you can be via social
Absolutely.
media. So thank you.
October the 5th. Don't forget.
October the 5th.
That's it.
Go over to Facebook, support, get the book, be creative, and be social. And just the tools will work if you work them, pretty much.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you again in a couple of days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.